Okay, so here we are on practice exam number 1. First question. It's going to be different questions for everybody, but generally the same question. It'll randomize the numbers. First question is to factor that, and it says to factor out the GCF. So how do we take out the GCF? Well, what's in common to these three terms? Looks like 2 goes in all of them. Do they all have an x? Yeah, they do. So whenever they all have an x, you take out the lowest power, which is plain x. Do they all have a y? Yeah, they do. Take out the lowest, which is also plain y. What does that leave inside? Well, whatever works. We're going to put 3 things here so that if it multiplies, it'll go back to this. So what's that going to be? X squared, right? 2xy times x squared. We'll go back to 2x cubed y, because the invisible 1 power on the y will add to the 2. For the next one, it'll be, 9, to go back to 18. X squared y will be 9x, because again, the invisible 1 powers on the x's. We'll go back to x squared y, 18x squared y. And the third one, 2xy times what? We'll go back to minus 4xy, be just 2, right? 2 times 2 is 4, and we already got the xy. So there we are. We factored out the greatest common factor. You could try to factor further, but this part won't factor. If you did the diamond, nothing multiplies to be 2 and adds to be 9. You can't have two numbers that multiply to be negative 2 and add to be plus 9. The only thing that multiplies to be 2 is 1 times 2. It's not going to make 9. So that's as far as we can go. Next question, number 2. Factor the 4 term. How do you do a 4-termer? Well, the first two, what do they have in common? Looks like 3x. So take 3x out of the first two, leaves x minus, what will go back to this? Be 5y, right? Because 3x times x be 3x squared. 3x times 5y be minus 15xy. Then the minus in the middle. It's important. And then these two, what goes into 4 and 20? 4. Do they both have an x or y? No. What does that leave inside? X, because minus 4 times x. We'll go back to minus 4x. And minus, remember that minus is on the 4. That's his minus. Minus 4 times what? Minus 5y. Minus times minus will go back to plus 20y. And not only that, that also produces a match. These have got a match. So they both have a x minus 5y there. So that's good. Now imagine if that was a big W. Imagine if we had 3xw minus 4w. What would you do? You'd take out the w that they both have, and that'd leave 3x minus 4. Just one w, right? Because that w could multiply back. Well, you do the same thing. Instead of a w, it's the big old x minus 5y. You take it out. It's gone, gone. What's left on the inside? 3x minus 4. Right, bring down the 3x and the minus 4, just like here. Except instead of a w in the front, it's the parentheses x minus 5y. So there we go. Here's number 2 factored. Number 3, factor the trinomial completely. So first step in factoring is always GCF, if it's there, if there is something in common. What goes in all those? 3x leaves x squared, because 3x times x squared will go back to 3x cubed, plus 9x, because 3x times 9x would be 27x squared. And then what's that last one? Plus. Okay, so plus, what's that? 14, because 3 times 14, you should calculate if you're not sure, is 42x. Now, that's the first step. What do we do from there? Well, now we try on the 3 term. Whenever we have 3 terms, we try the diamond thing, don't we? So try the diamond. We're saying what multiplies to be 14. The back numbers always multiply. Adds to be the middle. So what times what's 14? 2 and 7, both positive. Multiply to be 14, add to be 7. So that's what we have. X plus 2, x plus 7. Either order. There we go. On to number 4. Let's see. First step, GCF, if there is one. So first, GCF. Is there something in common? Do they all have an X? No. Do they all have a Y? No. Is there a number they all have? No. So there's no GCF. So instead, we go right on to we don't do the 1 parenthesis step like we did back on number 3. We just go right to the 2 parentheses. And you can put the letters in right now. We're going to have x's on the left because we have x squared on the left. We have y squared on the right, so we know we're going to have y's on the right of each parenthesis. Now it's just the numbers. What multiplies to be minus 24 adds to be minus 2. We can do the diamond thing. What multiplies to be minus 24 adds to be minus 2. Wait a minute, I don't know. What times what's 24? Oh, 4 times 6. I'm a little slow here. 4 times 6. The sign in the bottom goes on the bigger. Remember BB? Help your memory there? Bottom bigger. So it goes on the 6. The 6 is bigger than the 4. I mean, you know, which of these two is bigger? 6. The bottom sign goes on the bigger of the two numbers. So minus 6 plus 4 adds to be minus 2 on the bottom, multiplies to be negative 24. That's it. Either order, plus 4, minus 6. There we go. Okay, here we are on number 5. Trying to factor number 5. So how do we do that? How do we factor number 5? Well, the first step in factoring is always first we always do the GCF. So let's take out, what do they all have in common? What goes into all of them? Looks like 3. Use your calculator. 3 goes into all of them. Do they all have an x? Looks like they do. Take out the lowest x, would be that one. Do they all have a y? Looks like they do. Take the lowest one, would be that one. So whenever we take out letters, if they all have an x or if they all have a y, you take out the lowest, because that's the greatest amount they have in common. Okay, what does that leave on the inside? Whatever works. X squared, because 3xy times x squared, the invisible 1 power and the 2 would add to go back. Plus 4xy. That would multiply to be 12x squared y squared. Good. And finally minus, what, 21 y squared, because 3 times 1 would be 63, and the x1, y1, and add to the y2 to be minus 63xy cubed. So that's a good first step. But now we got to go further. There's 3 terms here, and we'll try the diamond thing. What multiplies to be 21, adds to be 4, minus 21. What multiplies to be minus 21? Adds to be plus 4, that'd be 3 times 7, huh? Sign in the bottom goes in the bigger. So plus 7 minus 3 makes plus 4 in the bottom, multiplies to be minus 21, that's it. So 3xy, the 2 parentheses. Now remember, we have x squared in the left, so we have x's on the left of each parenthesis, y squared in the right, y is in the right of each parenthesis, and then a minus 3 and a plus 7, either order. Minus 3 plus 7, there it is. Okay, so here we go on number 6. Factor this completely. First is always GCF. Is there something in common? Do they all have a number? I don't think so. No, or an x? No, there's none. Okay, so then we go right to the 2 parentheses. Okay, this is going to be a hard one because we have a number in the front. So we slide and divide, don't we? Slide and divide. Push that number to the back and multiply. So it becomes, let's bring it over here, becomes x squared minus 39x minus 40 times 40. Use your calculator. 4 times 4 is 16, 2 zeros, 1600. That's going to be challenging. So we're going to do our diamond thing. We're looking for what multiplies to be minus 1600. Adds to be minus 39. Like that. Okay, so you're going to have to use your calculator. Take 1600. You always take the multiply number and start dividing by things. I have no idea. So divide by things. You can start with 2, but this is not even close. 2, 800. I'm going to jump forward to 10. That'd be 160. So you're asking, can these numbers somehow make the add or subtract to make minus 39? Not even close. What if I divide it by, I don't know, 20? Is that going to be 80? Getting closer. 20 and 80 would, no, I guess we got further to go. Divide by 40 is probably too far. Divide by, I don't know, 25. going to be 64. Oh, that's it, isn't it? Because their difference is, if you subtract those, difference is 39. That's it. 25, 64. Sign in the bottom goes in the bigger. So plus 25 minus 64, that is minus 39, and that multiplies to be minus 1600. So I just tried some bigger numbers till I found a pair. That was a tricky one. Okay, so now, let me erase this. And we say, okay, so it factors x plus 25, x minus 64. That's the slide. Now we got to do the divide. So you divide by that number that was in the front, the 40 that we multiplied by. Now undo it by dividing both those by 40, and then you got to reduce those fractions. Those are both reducible. This one divide by, what, 8? I think 8 goes into both those, yeah. Divide by 8. The other one, divide by 5. So what do we get? X plus 5/8, and this one would be x minus 8/5. Right. Okay, then last step, slide the denominators back. Whoops, this is a hard one here. So this is going to be 8x. 8x plus 5, 5x minus 8. Whew, that was indeed a tough one. Okay, we're on to number 7, factoring. First step here, first should be GCF, but I don't think there's anything in common. There's no number that goes into all those. You can use a calculator to check, and there's no letter they all have, so no GCF. So next we got to factor 3 terms. We're going to have to do slide and divide. So grab that 45, slide it to the back, and so then we have x squared minus 8x minus whatever 45 times 21 is. Let me check with my calculator here. 945. Okay, so then that means we got to do the, what multiplies to be 945 adds to be negative 8. So minus 945. What multiplies to be that? And adds to be minus 8. That's another hard one. Going to take our calculator, take the 945, and just start dividing by numbers. I'm going to divide by 5. I'm not going to do 2, 3, 4. I'm going to try 5 right away. And think, okay, 5 times 189. We're looking for a pair of numbers that can add or subtract to be negative 8. That's not going to do it. If I divide by, 15, just trying things with 5s. I'm just guessing. 15 and 63, no. How about, we know 21 goes in because it came from 45 times 21. So that'd be 45. If I double 21, no, that's not going to work. I don't know. So, let's see, 27. I'm just kind of guessing. 27, 35. Oh yeah, that's it. That's the 8 difference. I just got lucky there. So 27 and 35. Sign in the bottom goes on the bigger, right? Plus 27 minus 35 is minus 8, and they multiply to be negative 45. So there was, just got to guess around. I got kind of lucky on that last guess. So then we have x plus 27, x minus 35. That's the slide. Now comes the divide. To divide, we've got to divide by the number we multiplied in the front, the 45. So divide both those by 45 and then reduce those fractions. So this one divides by 9, top and bottom. This one by 5, top and bottom. So we get x plus 3/5, x minus 7/9, and then slide back. 5 goes back there. 9 goes right there. 5x plus 3, 9x minus 7. There we go. The factorization of number 7. Okay, number 8. First GCF. What goes into all those? Looks like they all have a 3 and a y in common. Take it out, leaves 7y squared minus 33y minus 10. Okay, that's the first step, right? Because if I multiplied, it would return. Okay, next step, I'm going to have to slide and divide. Because we have a number in the front. So slide that to the back. We'll leave the 3y in the front. And we have y squared minus 33y minus 70. 7 times 10, 70. Then we're going to do the diamond. What multiplies to be minus 70? Adds to be minus 33. That 2 and 35. Sign in the bottom goes in the bigger. So plus 2 minus 35 adds to be minus 33, multiplies to be negative 70. So then that's y plus 2y minus 35. That's the slide. Now for the divide by that number that we slid over in the front. Divide by 7. Divide by 7. This one just becomes y minus 5. 35 divided by 7 is just 5. This one just slides back because it can't divide, can't reduce. 7y plus 2. Right, we can't reduce 2 7s, so we just slide back. There we go. There's the factorization of number 8. Okay, so now number 9. Factor. What's the first step in every factoring problem? GCF. Take out what's in common. So what's in common? 9 and y. Leaves 4x squared minus 1. Because if you multiplied that, it would be 36x squared y, and that'd be 9y. So now we leave the 9y sitting there, and now we can factor the 4x squared minus 1. How do we factor the 4x squared minus 1? That's 2x, 1 times 1. It's a double. 2x is on the left, 1's on the right. How do you get negative 1? 1 positive, 1 negative. There it is. Had to factor that double there. Double is always 1 plus, 1 minus. Okay, next we come to number 10. How do we factor that? Well, that's also a double. It's x squared. If you take your calculator and you square root 256, hit the square root button, you'll find out it's 16 times 16. So that's a double. Something twice. So how do you factor that? You do the 2 parentheses. X squared's on the left, so they'll multiply to be x to the 4th. 16's on the right, they'll multiply to be 256. And how do you get negative 256? 1 positive, 1 negative. Now, we're not done there, because this is another double, right? This is x times x, 4 times 4. So this one breaks into 2. X is in the left, 4 is in the right. 1 positive, 1 negative to make negative 16x squared. So this one breaks into these 2. Now what about this guy? I don't know if you remember, but the double plus can't do anything. It's still part of the answer, but it doesn't break down. It comes down just as it is, and these 3 are the final answer. You might wonder, you might think, let me show why it's not true. You might think, well, no, can't we factor? Doesn't this factor as x just plus 4 because that'd make plus 16, isn't that right? It's not true. Let me show you. If you FOILed that out, you'd get x squared plus 4x, and FOIL that one, plus 4x plus 16, you'd get x squared plus 8x in the middle. And that's not right. There's no 8x in the middle here. So it's not true. It just doesn't factor. So you really need to remember the double. Let me get rid of all that. The double with the double here with the plus can't factor. It just comes down as it is. The double minus breaks into the plus and the minus. Very important difference. So there we go. So these three our final answer. Okay, number 11. How do we factor that? Well, is there anything in common? No, there's no number that goes into 8 and 125. They don't both have an x or a y. So then what is it? Well, with two terms, right, there's just two terms here, not three. So it's not the diamond or anything like that. It's only two terms, right? With three terms, we do the diamond. And there's no GCF. We already checked that. So what do? Well, with two terms, it's either double-double or triple-triple. Which one's this? Well, that's a triple-triple because it's 2x times 2x times 2x. That makes 8x cubed. And it's 5y times 5y times 5y. That makes 125y cubed. So now, what's the triple-triple formula? Well, triple-triple says if you have left, 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 minus or plus or whatever, right, 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 the pattern is a little parenthesis and a big. And you go one left, one right, one to the left, one to the right. And then the two left and the two right. And in the middle, one of each. And then you soap the signs, remember. So let's do that. Let's go little parenthesis and a big. One left, 2x, one right, 5y, two left, 2x times 2x, 4x squared. Two right, right, the two guys that come from the right term go on the right, 5y times 5y, 25y squared. And then what goes in the middle? One of each. So 2x times 5y, 10xy goes in the middle. Let me make that a little nicer. 10xy. Now, how about the signs? You soap the signs. So because the triple-triple, you can do both for positive or negative in the middle. It's not like the double-double, which only works for the minus in the middle, and the plus can't factor down for the double-double. But for the triple-triple, like this one, you can do it plus or minus. You just have to soap the signs. What does S stand for? Same. Same as what? Same as what you started with. So whatever you started with, same. Then opposite of whatever you started with, so it'd be plus, and AP always positive at the back. There it is. There's the factorization on the triple-triple. Let's go on to number 12. So number 12, let me put it at the top here. So number 12, we have to have an x squared, it says plan, an x squared plan. What is the x squared plan? Step 1, get a 0. Step 2, factor. Step 3, each one equals to 0 and solve. So that's the plan for x squared. So when you see an x squared, step 1, get a 0. So that means I'm going to jump that 14 over, making it x squared minus 5. When something jumps to the other side of the equal sign, it changes signs. Really what I'm doing is subtracting 14 from both sides, getting rid of it there. So it's minus 14 on this side equals 0. I just do a shortcut and just jump it over and changes to minus 14. So that's step 1, get a 0. Step 2, factor. Now how do we factor? That's going to be the diamond, right? What multiplies, what adds. So what multiplies to be minus 14 and adds to be minus 5 be 2 times 7. Sign on the bottom goes in the bigger. Minus 7 plus 2 is minus 5. Multiplies to be minus 14. So there we go. X plus 2, x minus 7. So that's step 2 factor. Step 3 is we set each one equal to 0. So we set the x plus 2 equal to 0, and we set the x minus 7 equal to 0. Why is that? Because if two things are timesing, right, they're multiplying, parentheses, to equal 0. If two things times to equal 0, either one could be 0 to make that happen. So either one gets 0. Then just solve it. Subtract 2 from both. X is minus 2. Add 7 to both sides. X is 7. So the answers are minus 2, 7. Those are the answers. That's number 12. Now for number 13, same game plan for x squared, right? Step 1, get a 0. Step 2, factor. Step 3, each one equals 0. So step 1, bring this over. So we've got 56x squared minus 15x minus 56 equals 0. So that's step 1, get a 0. Step 2 is factor. Now, how are we going to factor that? First off, is there something, factoring. First step is GCF. Is there something in common? No, I guess not. Okay, nothing in common. This is a terrible one. Then how are we going to factor this with 3 terms? I looked for GCF. You always look for GCF first. GCF. So I'll put it up here, GCF, GCF, none. There's no GCF. So what are you going to do? We're going to do with 3 terms, slide and divide. So first GCF, second slide and divide. So I'm going to grab this and slide it to the back. So that'll become x squared minus 15x. And I'm going to use my calculator. I don't know what 56 times 56 is. It's a big number, 3136. This is a crazy question. Okay, then we got to do the diamond thing. What multiplies to be negative 3136 and adds to be minus 15? I haven't any idea in the world. So I guess you take 3136 on your calculator and try dividing by things. This seems like really hard. Maybe I'm just going to guess at numbers here. I don't know. Like what if I put 12? Let's use my calculator. See what I get. No, it doesn't even go in cleanly. How about 17? No. How about 18? It doesn't even go. It's just when I write no, it just means it's just decimals. So 18 is no. Let me try 28. Going to be 112. No, I'm going to try something bigger. 64. 49. That's it. So I just guessed around. How I came up with that really is I know 56 times 56 made this number, and I'm thinking what's in a 56, 7 times 8 and 7 times 8. So when they get together, that's 7 times 8 times 7 times 8. So I just took 8 and 8, 64, and I tried it, and it was 49, and the difference between them is 15. So that is it. The sign on the bottom is the bigger. So there it is, minus 15, and multiplies right. It's a difficult one. So we're still factoring. So we got x minus 64, x plus 49, these two. But that's the slide. Now we got to do the divide. You got to divide by that 56 in the front. So go back and we change the color. And we got to divide by 56. And they reduce both those. These are both divisible by 7. These are both divisible by 8. So you get x minus, what is that, 8/7, and x plus 7/8, and then slide it back. 7x minus 8, 8x plus 7 equals 0. We had to equal 0 there all along. Now that's all step 2, factor. Let me get this out of the way. That's all step 2 factor. That was a hard factoring, slide and divide. So we've got it factored. Now what do we do on step 3? Each one equals 0. So 7x minus 8 is 0, or 8x plus 7 is 0, and then solve it. So add 8, right? Because if two things multiply to equal 0, either one could be 0. So 7x is 8 divided by 7, or subtract 7 here. 8x is minus 7 divided by 8. So 8/7. So the answer is 8/7, comma, minus 7/8. That's a hard one. Number 13, on to 14. So 14 with an x squared or x cubed, same kind of thing with an equal sign. So we have an equal sign and a high power. Step 1, get a 0. Step 2, factor. Step 3, each one equals 0, and solve. Same steps. Okay, here we go. So step 1, get a 0. We've already got that. Right on to step 2, factor. So I'm going to take this x cubed minus 11x squared plus 24x equals 0. I'm going to factor it. So take out an x. GCF, right? First GCF, first step in factoring always. Next step, got 3 terms here. It's going to be a diamond. So what multiplies to be plus 24? Adds to be minus 11. What times what's 24? 3 and 8, huh? Both negative. Will add to be negative 11. Multiply to be positive 24. So minus 3 minus 8. So that's all step 2. And step 3, each one equals 0. That means each part that has an x. So the x alone is 0. The x minus 3 is 0, and the x minus 8 is 0. Each one equals 0. Because if 3 things are timesing to be 0, any one of them could be 0 to make them all multiply and be 0. So this one's done. This one I got to add 3 to both sides, so x is 3. This one I've got to add 8 to both sides, so x is 8. So the answers are 0, 3, and 8. 3 answers. For x cubed, that makes sense. 3 answers. Okay, number 15. Simplify. Well, how do we simplify? Can I just cancel x's? No, remember with the pluses and minuses, they're glued together. So you have to factor. Got to factor the top, factor the bottom. Take out a 7, x plus 4. Take out an x. The GCF here is x. Now we can cancel these guys, and we're left with 7 over x. That's the answer for that one. Number 16 is going to be pretty much the same. Factor the top, factor the bottom. So the top, GCF, it's going to be x squared. Leaves x plus 6, because if you multiplied, it would go back. And then on the bottom, there's no GCF in the bottom. They don't all have an x and everything, but it's 3 terms diamond. So I'll do the diamond, what multiplies to be minus 12 and adds to be plus 4. What times what is 12? 2 and 6. The sign on the bottom goes in the bigger. So plus 6 minus 2. There it is. So that's going to be x minus 2, x plus 6. Okay, now that it's factored, now we can cancel those 2. We're left with x squared over x minus 2. Now, can I cancel this x with this x? No way. Because remember, the rule is this, put it back the way it was, this here on the bottom is glued together. Pluses and minuses are like Costco. They package things in big bulk things. So these guys are glued together. Plus and minuses glue things together, which means if you want to cancel anything down here, you got to cancel the whole thing or nothing. You can't take just the x part. It's all or nothing, and we can't take it all, so we just stop there. That's as far as we can go. Okay, number 17, we're multiplying, but really it just means it's a bunch of factoring again. So how do you factor that? It's a double-double, huh? There's no GCF there. So that's x plus 8, x minus 8, right? When 2 terms, double-double. Down below 3 terms, that's going to be the diamond. What multiplies to be minus 16 and adds to be minus 6. 2 and 8. The sign on the bottom goes in the bigger. Plus 2 minus 8 adds to be negative 6. Multiplies to be negative 16. So plus 2, x plus 2, x minus 8 times, and then the x plus 2 over x. These guys are still over there to the right. Now, we're free to cancel anything that matches. You can cross cancel like that and straight up and down cancel. So what are we left with? just x plus 8 on the top, this right here, and regular x on the bottom. Can I cancel those x's? No way, because that's glued package on the top, right? Pluses and minuses make this a glued package, which means what? You buy all of it or you buy none of it. It's all or nothing. We put it back the way it was. So that's as far as we can go. We cannot cancel anything because the top is a package, all or nothing. We can't take it all, so we take nothing. That's as far as it goes. Now on number 18, that one is divide. This will divide someone if that's too small for you to see. What do we do on divide? We flip the one on the right. So we keep the one on the left as it is. We change to times. Change to multiply, and we flip the one on the right. 7 goes in the top, 3x to the 8th over y to the 3rd goes bottom. Why? Because dividing is upside down multiplying. So we just flip it to upside down multiplying, change to multiplication. Now cancel whatever you can. Notice there's no glue here. There's nothing plus or minus. So I can go 3 into 9 3 times. That's fine. I can go x to the 8th, x to the 8th. That's fine. Now, do these y to the cubes cancel? No, they're both on the bottom. They're going to actually multiply. So what do we have left? 3 times 7 is 21 on the top. Let me get this out of the way. 21 on the top. And that came from after you've cross canceled, you multiply the leftovers. 3 times 7, 21. What's left on the bottom? Y cubed. And what is that? Y to the 6th, right? Because the powers add, because that's 3 y's and 3 y's, that's 6 y's. There we go. There's the answer to 18. Okay, so number 19 is divide again, so that means flip the one on the right. So this will become x plus 9, 7 minus x, change to times because dividing is upside down, multiplying, and flip. So this is going to go to the top, x squared minus 10x plus 21, and then this here goes to the bottom, x squared minus 9x plus 18. Okay, now we got to factor everything. Well, how do we do that? Well, first off, this guy's out of order, huh? So we always want the x in the front. So minus x plus 7. Remember, when you move him around, the sign in front, that negative in front of that x goes with him wherever he may go. And what's in front of 7 is nothing, which means plus. That's with him wherever he may go. So when you move things around, the sign in front of them goes with them. That's their baby. Take your baby with you. And then we can't have a negative in front, so we factor out a negative 1. Changes the sign, right? Because that would be minus x plus 7. That's right. So we do that. There's a minus. So there's that one factored. Now we're going to factor. So let me write what we have down here. We have so far. Well, that one's done. Let's factor this guy. We're going to say what multiplies. It's the diamond method. Adds. So what multiplies to be 21, adds to be minus 10, 3 and 7, both minus, multiply to be positive 21, add to be negative 10. So that'll be the top, so the top will factor x minus 3, x minus 7. And then this bottom, we'll do a little one right here for this guy. Whoops, kind of running out of room. What multiplies to be plus 18 adds to be minus 9. 3 and 6, both negative. Will multiply to be positive 18, add to be negative 9. So that's x minus 3, x minus 6. And then bring down the other guys. So this is x plus 9 on the top here, and on the bottom, negative 1 times x minus 7. This comes down there. Okay, so now we cancel whatever we can. What can we cancel? X minus 7, x minus 7, x minus 3, x minus 3. You can cancel diagonally and straight up and down. What are we left with? X plus 9 on the top and minus 1, don't forget that, and x minus 6 on the bottom. There we go. You can put that minus in the front if you prefer. It doesn't matter. You can stick it there. It's the same thing. That might be a good way to do it. You don't really, if you do that, you don't need these parentheses anymore. There's nothing to separate it from. That's a fine answer. You could also take that, I'll say or, you could take that negative to the top, make it, it'll hit them both. If it goes to the top, it'll hit them both. Hit both the x and the 9. So this is a fine answer on the multiple choice exam. All these, or you could have left it on the bottom. All those are the same. They're all the same. All right, so make sure you recognize that on a multiple choice exam. So number 20 here, we're subtracting. They already have common denominators, so we can just combine them into one big fraction. So we'll take 5x squared plus 11x. Now what is that minus? Remember, minus subtraction's really, got to be careful. It's going to subtract the 9x and the 7 both. And then from there, what do we have? 5x squared plus 11x minus 9x. These two is plus 2x minus 7. Now, we're good to there, but now we need to see if we can reduce that at all. Like, can we factor that top? So, that's not easy to do. How do we factor the top? Is there any GCF? No, there's nothing in common. So we're going to have to do slide and divide. So grab that 5, move it to the back. It'll become x squared plus 2x minus 35 over x minus 1. And then you got to do the, you know, what multiplies and what adds. So what multiplies to be minus 35, adds to be plus 2, 5 times 7. Sign in the bottom goes in the bigger. So there they go. Those multiply to be negative 35, add to be plus 2. So that means, let me change my color here. That means we've got x minus 5x plus 7 over the x minus 1. But now we have to do the divide part of the deal. And so that is divided by what? By that number in the front, the 5. So, what does that leave us? Leaves us almost done. We've got then x minus 1, right? Because these guys just make 1. Here, 5 doesn't go into 7, so you slide it back. 5x plus 7 over x minus 1. They cancel. 5x plus 7 is all that's left. That's the answer. So there's number 20. 21. We're supposed to subtract these fractions. Again, they already have a common denominator, so I can just take that minus and distribute. So I get 10x squared. It has to go to both, right? Minus 4 minus 9x squared over x plus 2. Combine like terms. 10x squared minus 1x squared is x squared minus 4 over x plus 2. Now, can we factor this top? Yeah, it's a double-double, isn't it? X plus 2, x minus 2 over x plus 2. These cancel. The answer is just x minus 2. There's 21. Okay, 22. They want us to find the LCD. Say there's just a comma between them. We're not adding them or subtracting them or doing anything. We're just forming LCD. Well, the first step for the LCD, first factor the denoms. First factor. So I'm going to factor this one right here. That's a double-double. X plus 8, x minus 8, comma. And then the other one, factor this one, that's a GCF, right? What do they, put the top down, we don't care about the top. The GCF, what do they have in common? Looks like 5x squared times x minus 8, I think, because that would go back to 5x cubed. That'd go back to 40x squared, right? Okay, now, so we got them factored. And then, here's the rule for LCD. It's like shopping at the store, and here's your plan. Buy one of everything, the most expensive kind. So you're going to buy one shampoo, one carton of eggs, one hammer. You know, one of everything, but you buy the most expensive hammer, the most expensive carton of eggs, the most expensive shampoo, one of everything to the highest power. That's what you're doing. One of each type, highest power. That's the LCD plan. So I look here and go, okay, x plus 8. So the LCD, I need an x plus 8 package. It's a package, right? They're glued together. I need an x minus 8. Come next, I need a 5x squared. Come here next. X minus 8, already got one of those. Don't take another one. You're just buying one of each type. So there it is. There's the LCD. You can put that in any order. It doesn't matter what order. They're just all these pieces all multiplied together. 23. We're subtracting. Common denominator already. So you know what happens. That minus distributes to both, right? So we get 9x minus 7x plus 10, actually, over x plus 5, like that. And then that 9x minus 7x is 2x plus 10 over x plus 5. And then we factor this, take out a 2. And then these cancel. It's just 2. The answer to all that is just 2. All right, 24. We're wanting to add fractions. Okay, so what's the game plan for add, subtract, fraction? Step 1, factor denoms. Well, these denominators don't need to be factored. They're good. When we get to number 25, those denominators, well, at least this one, will need to be factored. We'll do that one next. So for this one, we can skip it. Step 2, multiply top and bottom by whatever's missing. So multiply top and bottom by what's missing. So that means I come over here and I go, okay, what this denominator compared to that denominator, he's missing the v minus 5 package, right? It's glued together package. Then come to the other guy, him compared to him, what's he missing? The 7 and the v. 7 and the v. So we both gave him what the other guy had. Now, notice the two denominators. This has all 3 parts, and this has all 3 parts. So they have the same denominator. So now, what do? Step 3, multiply tops and combine. So I'm going to multiply tops, so the 6 is going to go boom, boom. So that'll be 6v minus 30 over v minus 5, 7v. Notice I don't multiply out the bottoms, do I? It's just the top. That's why it says multiply top, just the top. We leave the bottom. Once we've got that common denominator, we gave them what they're missing, you know, on step 2, and we've got a common denominator on the bottom. I don't want to mess with the bottom. I'm happy with the bottom. I'm not going to multiply it out or do anything. It's common denominator, and that's what I want. Here, 9 times 7v is 63v, so I multiply the tops, because I still have to combine them. But the bottom, don't mess with it. See how these two denominators are the same? We're happy about that. Don't want to mess with that. So now, next step, combine. So make these into 1 fractions. Bring them down here. No need to have 2. They have the same denominator now. So you can combine them into one fraction. So what do we got? 6v and 63v. What's that? 69v minus 30. Like that. And let me see. I'm thinking if we can do any more. I don't really think we can. The fourth step, I know we can't. The fourth step is try to factor the top. Now, yeah, you could factor the top a little. You could take out like a 3. It'd be, what, 23v minus 10, but who cares? It does nothing. See how that cancels? It doesn't cancel with anything in the bottom in any way, shape, or form. So then we don't care about it. I mean, you could do it. It's fine or not. This is a fine answer right there. Okay, here we go. Last one, number 25. I'm going to bring it down here. We'll for add, subtract fraction, step number 1. Factor denom. So this denominator needs to be factored. Let me move it over a little bit. It's m plus 10, m minus 10, difference of squares, right? The other denominator, he's already factored, so we just leave him. Okay, step 2. Multiply top and bottom by whatever is missing. So I'm going to go, okay, compare this denominator to that. What's he missing? He's missing that 2. And then this denominator, what's he missing when you compare back to the other one? He's missing the m minus 10. He's got the m plus 10. He's missing the m minus 10. So notice I give him what they're missing. And now, see the two denominators are identical now? They have the same 3 pieces. You've made them the same by giving them what the other guy had, what they were missing. So step 3, multiply tops, only the tops. See, we're not going to mess with the bottoms. We're happy with the denominators. They're common denominators, not going to mess with them at all. We're going to multiply the tops and combine. We have to combine the 2 tops, so we're going to multiply them. 2 times 30 is 60, plus this 3 will distribute, 3m minus 30, 3 times 10, 30, over the common denominator, 2, m plus 10, m minus 10. And now, what becomes of that? So we get 60 minus 30, that's 30, over 2, m plus 10, m minus 10. Now the fourth step is try to factor the top, which doesn't always work, but this time it does. You can take a 3 and reduce, I should say, and reduce. So take the 3 out, leaves m plus 10, right? The GCF of 3 there. The bottom stays the same. And then, do you see what happens now? The m plus 10's cancel, don't they? So our final answer is just what's left. 3 in the top, 2, m minus 10 on the bottom. There we go. There's the whole practice exam. The real thing will be just like this, except it'll be multiple choice. So I encourage you to practice the practice exam several times until you're really strong at it. I know it takes a lot of time, but that's what math takes. Good luck to you.